Hi all, your favorite people, Stephen and AJ here, bringing you more random
Hello,
news from
hello.
last week for our episode 2. We will have some
Dos.
biased versions of some random news from all over. Let's begin.
Take it away.
The first thing we've got is Russia and Pakistan striking a deal to sell discounted crude oil. Seems a little extreme considering the backdrop of the Ukraine war. Essentially, the G7 countries, or those are the seven most powerful countries on paper in the world, they have imposed a cap on Russian oil, and Russia is looking for new buyers, and Pakistan has struck a deal. It could have immense global implications. What do you think, Stephen? How is the world of the global news doing in your end of the world?
It's very interesting talking about Russia selling oil to Pakistan because you are in India and clearly there will be some tension forming
And I am
between
excited to see.
you're
Find that
excited
out.
to see it. Oh,
I'm being
um,
sarcastic. Yeah.
I imagine China's not going to be happy about it. US is too far away, but I'm sure we're not happy about it either.
US and China are never happy.
Yeah, that's our like defining feature is depression.
Yeah.
Who knew having so much wealth makes you so unhappy?
That reminds me, what's going on in US?
What's going on in the US? Well, let me tell you. Our president, Mr. Joe Biden, has decided to be fancy again in the White House. I have mixed feelings about this because, you know, it's a little wasteful, but also diplomacy is important. So it depends how you look at it. The article describes that the leaders were eating Maine lobster, American osatra caviar. I have no idea how to say that. A collard of beef with shallot marmalade, triple cooked butter mashed potatoes, and a bunch of artisanal cheeses. That's kind of neat. I what I didn't know is that Joe Biden's a teetotaler. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if that is for his whole life or after some sort of incident. Emmanuel Macron was enjoying the Brut Rosé. They said something to the extent of love exists between our countries.
I am still stuck on all the fancy dishes they serve. What happened to McDonald's?
I feel like we learned our lesson that we need to be able to cook food on site when hosting foreign leaders.
Oh, well, Donald
And
Trump would not be pleased.
he will not be, but that's okay. He can go kick sand.
Fabulous food on display. I am actually feeling hungry. French wine and dine. How about that? I don't know, fine and French seem to go together.
Well, it seems that most of the other analysis in this article is around the approach that Joe Biden has had to recovering America's face post Trump's presidency. Yeah, as far as Trump's America First statements, that is something that Europe has not been a huge fan of. Joe Biden hasn't necessarily dialed back on it completely. Who would have thought two right wing parties would be so similar? That is where we're at. They discuss how Biden's doctrine focuses on democracy versus autocracy, stating that democracies need to be able to prove that they can deliver better for their citizens. This would stand in stark contrast with, say, Xi's reign in China and
Hmm.
how they can deliver for the people while also not necessarily believing in individual rights. We do have the youngest French president aside the oldest American president. I sincerely hope one day that we stop only having old white dudes as options, but we'll see.
Hey, it's Murica.
Yeah, it is. Was that Russian? I
No.
mean, speaking of Russia, Biden did say Putin had miscalculated all his former calculations or something to that extent. Interesting to see that leaders are acting more like leaders again. That's both beautiful and boring. And as John Oliver so witfully once said, the best way to do something evil is to encapsulate it in something dreadfully boring. So now we have to pay more attention, and that's where it's going to get hard.
Yeah, no more direct things like the North Korean war.
Yeah, they'll be back, I'm sure. We should talk about my favorite topic, religion.
Oh, on the word of religion, Christianity is not a majority religion in England and Wales anymore. Per the census in 2021, more than half people in 6 areas of South Wales, which is a part of UK, do not identify as Christians.
It's
The
about time.
census, exactly. I mean, Christianity is boring now,
It's
honestly.
just no longer very interesting. We've heard the story. Find a new one. Joseph Smith had that,
So
right?
one of the most common religion is paganism.
Really?
What do you think about that?
I feel like we're seeing a resurgence of paganism, maybe a bit of an echo of the 60s and 70s, where that was more popular. We're seeing a return to more of a spirituality without a strict name rather than an organized religion, which I find both fascinating and maybe a bit frustrating. I feel like we're just replacing a hat with a beret, and we have science.
Maybe orgies.
You say orgies?
Yeah, some pagan religions do, or some other. I don't know. Back to 60s and 70s.
Oh, I guess that's the point.
Yeah. So for this graph, it shows Christianity has fallen by almost 10%. That's like a population of 6 million adherents. That's
Oh,
spectacular.
it's great. I love seeing that non-stated religion is pretty much equal with Islam. It really shows that is growing, which is very helpful, regardless of what these people in that group do identify as. They don't care to tell you what they are. And I think that makes their faith a little bit more proper. It's personal. It's their own relationship or whatever, like the Christians like to say.
True that. And no religion has almost increased by the same amount Christianity has fallen.
Oh,
So
wow.
those are pretty impressive figures in the religious front. We also have paganism rising, and that is the most common belief outside the six major beliefs: Christianity, Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, and Jewish. Impressive things happening in the UK. And of course, we also have had the recently Hindu Prime Minister for the UK. The first Hindu Prime Minister also happens to be the richest in the country's history.
I
So
didn't
it
know
seems
that.
like a lot of stuff is happening in the UK. Moving on, how is the construction world doing, Stephen?
Feel like this is a little bit more on my page. Space. We're building another big telescope. God, I love it.
Oh, that's
We're
interesting.
apparently humans are making the Square Kilometer Array. It will be the largest radio telescope in the world in 2028 when it's completed. It's going to be split across South Africa and Australia, headquarters in the UK, doing a lot of incredible science. This has been a 30-year journey developing the concepts, ideas, then developing the technology itself, designing, buying the sites, and getting governments agreed to be able to interact and fund this sort of project. It will cost about 2 billion euro at the end. Australia will be starting the first milestone in 2024, so with some antenna stations in South Africa to give the proof of concept. The collecting area of this project will be 500,000 square meters, which is incredible. I am curious what something like this can do as we continue to scale, as we do space telescopes that are more decentralized. I think that this is very exciting and maybe other countries will join.
But it seems like a lot of countries have shown interest in joining the bid.
I hope so.
Cool concept. Love it.
Absolutely. For those that may not be familiar, I believe this is called an interferometry telescope. So it achieves larger resolution by having points further apart rather than one united dish. And it's a very effective way at increasing your resolution. We're going to
Interesting.
look to study very faint radio signals. And in fact, they're looking to even be able to look at detecting the hydrogen's presence before clouds began collapsing into the first stars, which is incredibly early in the universe. Just sounds so very exciting. We may be able to get answers to what fast radio bursts are, which are just incredibly high energy frequencies that we get from space that we don't necessarily understand. Maybe this will help us get there.
So, will we be able to reach the extraterrestrials?
It would be nice to think that, but radio waves are too broad, I think, to communicate with extraterrestrials. By the time they make it to anyone who potentially would be able to interpret it, they may be so redshifted that it is just nonsense. We would need something better to be able to do that sort of communication. And that's also probably a good thing because anything that could communicate with us and find us may not be friendly. They have had to acquire land agreements with farmers in the Karoo, with the Wajari Yamaji, the Aboriginal title holders in the Murchison.
Assurance.
It's good that they're actually working with these people instead of just taking the land. I like that. Talking about old stuff in the universe, AJ, why don't you take us home looking at old stuff here on planet Earth?
Okay, so we have on the account of old stuff, the oldest land animal celebrated its 190th birthday.
190.
So,
But
Jonathan, the
but
world's
AJ,
oldest, yeah.
the Bible says that you can only live to be 120.
Oh, does Bible say that?
I think somewhere. Not that
Oh,
Methuselah
interesting.
wasn't 969 or some shit.
Well, you should take this news article to your next church meeting.
I will. I'll take it to the
And
UK.
maybe, oh, I don't think they need it anymore,
Oh, they
but
need
it's still
Jesus
doesn't.
more than ever.
Moving on. Jonathan is the world's oldest land animal. It's a turtle, and he resides in St. Helena, which is a British overseas territory of the coast of Angola and Namibia. Those are the countries in Africa. And I
Cool.
just love this article here. He has lived through both the World Wars, seven British monarchs, 39 US presidents, and is older than Eiffel Tower. So we had Jonathan has seen more history than probably Wikipedia.
Yeah, Jonathan's seen some shit.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Very.
Jonathan should be one of the world's wonders,
I
a
mean,
mobile world wonder. He's
yeah,
already obtained two Guinness World Records, one in 2019 for being the world's oldest land animal, and then becoming the world's oldest living chelonian, a term that encompasses turtles, tortoises, and terrapins, all the animals that carry their homes with them.
except
Jonathan is the oldest one among them. So, believed to be born in 1832, that's estimated, not recorded. Could even be older. Oh, dang, that's too old. In fact, Jonathan was alive when the first telephone call was made in 1876.
he was alive for the
It's
Civil War.
Oh, yes, 1862. Huh. But he was younger than Abraham Lincoln. He's
Oh,
born after.
okay.
In spite of the age, Jonathan still has good libido and is seen frequently to mate with Emma and sometimes Fred.
I think
So,
that's
Jonathan
fascinating.
is bisexual, and we can make Jonathan the next
President of the
symbol
United
of
States.
LGBTQI organization, but president of the US would also be quite a viable goal. The only issue is, I think there's a term for being the president. You have to be born in the US,
Ah,
which
that's
in case of
fair.
Jonathan would not necessarily
Wouldn't
be.
qualify. Hmm.
Yeah,
But
that's unfortunate. Sorry, Jonathan.
but the important thing that we're taking away here is that Jonathan fucks
Yeah, Emma and
190.
Fred.
Emma and Fred.
Yeah,
Good on
I don't know
him.
if he together or separately.
I was
They
gonna.
do not mention.
They don't mention that. Use your imagination.
That's yours, Jide.
Always.
Always. Anyways, that definitely concludes the article. So we've had the Russian-Pakistan oil deal brimming, Biden hosting Macron for French wine and dine.
Oh, yeah.
We have Christianity not dominating UK anymore,
Thank
and
God.
South Africa and Australia collaborating on the world's biggest telescope. And of
It's huge.
course, we have the old turtle who fought.
Yeah.
That's it for this week. We will keep bringing on some more random stuff over the coming few weeks as we concoct new ideas. Hopefully, you had a good time. Looking forward to hear from you guys. Come comment and subscribe. And of course, press the bell icon. You will always be updated. Have a good day and the rest of your week.
Bye, y'all.